So when I made my video showing everything that was laid out in my tool case, I did kind of glossed over what screwdrivers I had in a lot of ways, especially in the smaller ones. And the other day I had a job. I had to go in and seriously they paid me to go in and tighten a knob on the instrument panel. That was it. And it used Allen keys. It was one of these smaller, I think the smallest one right there. So that's what it was. That's the 50 thousandths Allen wrench. And found the set screw was stripped out, so no matter how much I tried to tighten it, it stayed loose and the knob wouldn't grab. If you ever run into that situation, this right here is what allowed me to get the job done. That if we can zoom in on that, let's see, it's a Torx bit. I caught it there for a second, but anyways, and that Torx bit actually that's in there right now is what worked. Because if you ever run into an Allen socket that is stripped out, and it happens because people over torque them, it's very easy on the really small ones, a Torx bit that's just the next size up, you can ram into that and the points will grab the corners and then you can tighten it. And I was able to do that. So I wasn't sure of keeping this driver. This has a bunch of different bits inside, all different Allens, all different Torx sizes, but very small. I don't know if this says on or not. Like I got this at Home Depot. It's Husky sells it. I'm sure other stores have something similar as well. But that right there. And then for other precision screwdrivers, these I got, they're Milwaukee. I like the way they look. I like the way the handles are. I like this spinner knob on the end. It's easy to push on with the heel of your hand while you twist with your fingers, and they give you a good rubber grippy part there. This right here is a very fine tip slotted screwdriver. There it goes, caught just how small that is. And that one, I believe they identify, yeah they do, that is 1/16 of an inch, and sometimes you will need that. And then get this set one here, that's 3/32, same idea, small tip. And the largest of the set, it's a, let's see if that will read, 1/8 inch. Yep. And then as I mentioned before, this is a #1 Phillips right here. Which I already have a #1 Phillips, but sometimes I really need that very small shaft and the long reach. And then instead of getting the set, I like these ones that they're smaller. This is also, I believe, Husky. But it's different, and I don't know, this doesn't have stamped on it what size the tip is, but that's smaller. There might be a #0, I believe, Phillips. And let me get down to, I think that's like a 0.1, and that is the smallest Phillips I have. It is pretty tiny. I've never run anything smaller than this that I've needed to deal with, so that's what I have there. And I know I showed the stubby, that's a #1. It's a little stubby one. I bought this as a set of like 6, and you can put your own bits in. Auto parts store, nothing special. That right there is the #2. It's also a stubby. It has the handle that goes with it. I showed that. The nice thing with this one is I have a variety of different bits, including some that I've cut down so that I can make that almost as short as the thickness of the bit holder and the head when needed. And then for actual screwdriver bits, I like to use these holders that they're kind of rubbery, flexible, and you're going to need, especially doing AOG work, you're going to need a lot of different types of bits. These different hex bits right here in different sizes come in very handy for whatever reason, manufacturers don't like to stay with, you know, the standard Phillips that you're going to find in every bug smasher airplane out there, and a few slots in different places. I know Global Expresses, I've dealt with that a few times, where access panels on the outside of the plane are going to use a hex bit, and then they might even have two different size hex head screws depending on which panel. Like one panel will have one side, one panel will have the other size. I've used that, and you will find them stripped out sometimes. And the problem with that is you're not going to have the hardware on hand unless you're working in a service center or something, or a manufacturing type of thing, or an airline. So what you will do then, like I mentioned before, is you're also going to want to have these Torx bits in different sizes. And it might take a couple taps, with light taps with a hammer or screwdriver handle or something, but you can get these to drive in to a stripped out hex and actually get it to work. Then of course your Phillips, there's a 3, 2, 1, just a few different shapes there, and lots of different size slots, because you never know what you're going to run into. And these are pretty lightweight. And then you're going to run into these. This is another one of those fun things you're going to discover. See the shape of that? Notice it looks like a Phillips, but they don't line up. You'll often find people referring to those as Nazi bits in the industry. And then there's another one. It's a tri-wing. It's got 3. And they come in different sizes, a 1, 2, and a 3 usually. And you're going to need those. You can search for them online, because you're not going to find them in a Home Depot or a Lowe's or an Ace Hardware or anything like that. They're a specialty thing that's pretty much just for aviation. But like, there's a number 1 Nazi bit, there's a number 2, I think I have a number 3 somewhere. But they're just things you need to be aware of, and you're going to need to have airliners. You'll find them different manufacturers, different brands. They'll use them different places. And the great thing about them is they give you all kinds of torque going in, and they kind of stink coming out. So you're going to want to put extra force on them, and that's why you need picks to dig all the paint out, and you're going to need a speed handle that you can really lean in on when you have these bits in. Another bit to have here is, if let's just put it this way, if alternate realities or alternate universes were true, like you often see in science fiction movies, the one I would want to live in is the one where Mr. Robertson and Henry Ford came to an agreement, and Henry Ford used Robertson head screws in all of his cars and airplanes, and instead of Phillips. Phillips was his second choice after Mr. Robertson refused the deal to have these are the best. They don't strip out. It's really sad we didn't get them, and you will run into them in some odd places on aircraft, so you're going to want to hold on to them. Usually they come with like multi-bit screwdriver sets, and you look at them and go, what in the world? And unless you live in Canada or someplace like that, you're probably not going to see too many of them, but they do show up on aircraft. It's always good to have them. If nothing else, you might find that they're in the screws in a crate that some large aircraft part came in with, and you're going to need them to open the lid of that crate, because all the screws are stuck with that. Same thing with Torx. Quite a few construction fasteners, if you walk down the hardware store aisle, will have a Torx head, and they come in various sizes depending on the brand, manufacturer, size of the screw. So you're going to need all that stuff just to have. And then it never hurts to have extras, because you're going to break some, you're going to strip some, you may grind them, you may reshape them. There's a coin slot type of screw head that the British like to use a lot. I think they're left over from World War II. I don't know if I have one here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I mentioned about using a speed handle to be able to put extra force on a screw when you're driving it. This is a snap-on. I would actually, if I was buying another one, look for one with more of a knob here on the end, because you're going to put this against your body or your shoulder or the heel of your hand to be able to really put some force down on the tip. I have a 1/4 inch one. It flexes too much. I have a 1/2 inch one, and it's just way too big and bulky. 3/8 is what you want. Swivel end is nice. It doesn't ride against your hand so much, but you're always going to be riding against that part anyways. And then you get down to the tip. Like I said, it's 3/8, and then from there I have a 3/8 ratchet adapter, so I can use it to go forward and back. It's reversible, and the whole reason why is, let's say you're up against something and you can only make part of a turn like that and not go all the way around. It's a whole lot easier if you have a ratchet adapter, so you're not having to keep pull it out, stick it back in type of thing. And then just a bit holder. This right here is one that goes from 3/8 drive down to 1/4" bit. It's Irwin. There might be other designs that are better. I've looked at different ones. I just happened to buy this because I really like the locking feature that this has to really hold on to the bit, because quite often with tight screws, especially if you buy like I do, this one doesn't actually have it, but usually I buy ones that actually have little, they're called anti-cam-out ribs. They're little sideways teeth in the bit, and when that really grabs into a screw and you pull your bit out, or you pull your screwdriver off, the bit will stay in the screw. So you want to have a locking adapter to hold your bit so you don't leave it behind. So that right there, you could actually go without carrying a drill if you have one of these speed handles, but they're definitely something you need to have, and some shops are not going to allow you to use electric because of vapors and explosion risks and things like that. But one of these will save you a whole lot of time over a ratcheting screwdriver.